I greet you all and welcome you to the Manifested E-Learning Forum. Today we continue with the subject Governance and Compliance Audit. We begin on a new chapter known as Documentation and Communication, which has two subtopics. One is Documentation in Governance and Compliance Audit. Number two, Communication between Auditor and Client Organization. There are only two subchapters. In this lesson, we will study the first subchapter, which is Documentation in Governance and Compliance Audit. Then in our next lesson, we will focus on the communication between auditor and client organization. So the first subtopic here is Documentation in Governance and Compliance Audit. Documentation, candidates, is a fundamental component of governance and compliance audits because it provides the essential evidence and detailed record of an organization's activities, policies, and also procedures, which then demonstrates adherence to internal and external regulations. So as an auditor, you are required to ensure that there is proper documentation. Now, by documentation in context of governance and compliance audit or any other audit, we are referring to audit working papers. Documentation in audit is also known as working papers. Audit working papers. Audit working papers are documents prepared or obtained by the auditor to provide a record of the work performed. Number one, record of work performed. Number two, evidence of obtained. Number three, conclusions reached during an audit engagement. So as an auditor, as you embark on your audit work, you are required to ensure that you have proper audit working papers in place. Because this documentation or audit working papers represents the primary support for the auditor's final opinion and report. Because at the end of the audit engagement, as an auditor, you are required to make conclusions within the audit report. And there is no way one can reach conclusions without having evidence to support the conclusions that are reached. And in the previous chapter, that is the chapter on planning, we delved into the audit working papers. I think it is subtopic number 12 of topic number 6, preparation of audit working papers. In this chapter, we defined audit working papers, we gave the types of audit working papers, and even the reasons why the working papers are important in the context of governance and compliance audit. So it's important for you to have that understanding. It is this documentation, it is these audit working papers that serves as the basis for the conclusions that the auditor reaches when drafting the final report. So in this lesson, we will not get much into documentation because we covered it in the previous session, but we are going to just highlight the importance of documentation. Importance. Why is it important for the auditor to have proper documentation? What is the role and importance of documentation? We've seen that documentation is critical for various reasons. The first role is evidence of compliance. Evidence of compliance. Documentation serves as a tangible proof that an organization has implemented the necessary controls and safeguards to meet legal, regulatory, and industry standards. And this is very crucial for avoiding fines, for avoiding legal penalties, and also reputational damage. Okay? Yes. The second point, the second reason why organizations, apart from just the auditor, even the organization that is being audited, the second reason why the auditee company has to have proper documentation is due to what we call audit trail. Audit trail. Documentation creates a clear, traceable record of all the actions, the decisions, and also processes. And the auditors use a transparent, use this trail to verify that procedures were followed correctly and that the organization is operating in a transparent and accountable manner. Where the auditee company, the company that is being audited, maintains proper documentation, then it becomes very easy for the auditor to have an audit trail, because the auditor can trace whether the company has been complying or not. So audit trail. 3, informed making. Informed decision making. Documentation provides a comprehensive overview of the company's governance and also risk landscape, which allows leadership and stakeholders to make informed decisions. Understand? Yes. It is possible for the stakeholders to make informed decisions where there is proper documentation. Then number four is operational efficiency. Operational efficiency. Now, currently we are studying the importance of documentation. This is documentation on the part of the company that is being audited. Why is it important for the company that is being audited to maintain proper documentation? But of course, previously we had studied documentation from the perspective of the auditor. And when looking at documentation from the aspect of the auditor, we then refer to that documentation as audit working papers, which are documents prepared or obtained by an auditor to provide a record of the work performed. The auditor has to provide a record of work performed, a record of evidence that is obtained, and also the conclusions that are reached. All that is contained in what we call the working papers, which we discussed previously. Here we are discussing documentation from the perspective of the company that is being audited. And in point number 4, we are saying the documentation is important because of operational efficiency. Because well-organized documentation ensures that everyone in the organization understands their role and responsibilities, which improves consistency, reduces errors, and also streamlines business operations. And that becomes also very easy for the auditor to carry out these duties. 5, knowledge transfer. Documentation is important to enable transfer of knowledge. It acts as an institutional knowledge base, making it easy for new employees to understand regulatory requirements and for the organization to adapt to evolving regulations. Then lastly, we have legal protection. Documentation is critical for the purposes of legal protection. In the event of a dispute or in the event of litigation, comprehensive documentation serves as a robust defense, demonstrating that the organization made a good faith effort to comply with laws or applicable requirements. So currently these are 6 Reasons why documentation is important. One reason we've said is it's evidence of compliance, where an organization has proper documentation, then that can be evidence of compliance. Very easy to tell whether the organization has been complying or not. Audit trail, number 2. Number 3, informed decision making. Number 4, operational efficiency. Number 5, knowledge transfer and legal protection. So that's all for our today's lesson on documentation. And we differentiated candidates' documentation from the perspective of the auditor, and there is documentation on the part of the company that is being audited. When referring to documentation on the from the perspective of the auditor, then such documentation is referred to as audit working papers, which we covered in topic number 6, which are documents. Audit working papers are documents prepared or obtained by an auditor to provide record of the work performed, the evidence that is gathered, and also the conclusions that are reached. And we did define the audit working papers. We know that there are 2 categories of audit working papers. We have the current audit file, then there is also the permanent audit file. We did indicate that the permanent audit file refers to the records that are of continuing nature. They continue beyond the current audit period. But we have the current audit file, which only relates to the work that is performed in the current financial year. So thank you for attending the lesson. This is only the first lesson in chapter number 7. There are only 2 sub-chapters. In our next session, we are going to study communication between the auditor and the client organization. Bye.